Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I want to talk about candy. I know. Candy, Jules, you're going in the wrong direction. I am, but I'm trying to explore like where my obsession and things come from and what the foundation of them were. Needless to say, we're constantly inundated with ads in every form, right? Orally, visually, being offered them all the time. And you know, sugar is crack for little kids, right? I mean, it makes them crazy anyway. They just can't stop once they have it. And I certainly understand that. For me as a child, my mother was largely a health food fanatic, but that kind of led to a sense of being deprived, you know, because she'd make some of our, with really good intentions, our birthday cakes using honey instead of sugar. My father had a sweet tooth, so he'd make sure that like on, you know, dinners on Sunday night that we would actually get a treat. And it was usually something like ice cream, whereas my mother would use those yogurt pops, right? Do you remember the Rainbow Swirled yogurt pops, which easily had as much sugar as any ice cream you could ever get? But that was kind of the game. I more than made up with it with one of my sisters who was a partner in crime when we would go to the store and readily steal whatever we wanted. Not because we didn't have enough, but because we were making up that deficit ourselves. I would steal money from my mother and go and buy all sweets with that. I unfortunately got fired from babysitting for eating the cake decorator right out of her frosting business, okay? It's always been a problem for me. And even now, when I'm feeling compulsive, of course, the children always have candy. And they immediately want to offer it to Miss McCants. And my negotiator starts saying, well, I mean, it's just sugar and corn syrup and la la. There's no animals in there. There's no milk in there. I mean, couldn't you just suck on one? Oh, God. So then I was like, okay, I get all of that. But where else did this magical, mystical idea come about candy? I know they promote it as fun, but there's more than fun. I mean, for children, it's collateral. You got candy, you can pretty much negotiate anything on the playground you want. You can make friends for the day that would never be your friends but for your candy, right? You can trade anything with that candy. Like, it's very interesting, but there's this comforting warmth about it. Well, this is what comes to mind. About 5.5 years old. Here we go. I know you'll know. From the very first words, I can't stop eating sweets. All those wonderful Willy Wonka treats. You can keep the others. 'Cause me, I'm a wonkerer. Oh yeah, when it comes to candy, Willy's the conqueror. Anyone? Join me, won't you? I'm sure you will. Here we go. You guys know this one. Put it in the chat. Oh wait, there is no chat. Who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew, cover it with chocolate and a miracle or two? The Candyman. The Candyman can. Who can take a rainbow, wrap it in a sigh, soak it in the sun and make a strawberry lemon pie? The Candyman. The Candyman can. The Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. The Candyman makes everything he makes satisfying and delicious. Talk about your childhood wishes. You can even eat the dishes. Nothing for you, Charlie? Not today. I wouldn't want to spoil my appetite. Looks like your appetite could use a little spoiling. Here, take one of these. It's on the house. Really? Thanks. Who can take tomorrow, dip it in a dream, Separate the sorrow and collect. Oh my gosh, right? I mean, this is like such junkies. Separate the sorrow and collect the something cream. Oh, separate the sorrow and collect up all the cream. The candy man. The candy man can. The candy man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. The Candyman makes everything he makes satisfying and delicious. Talk about your childhood wishes. You could even eat the dishes. Ah, such promise, right? The Candyman can. The Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Thanks for the candy. Oh yeah, my dad wants to borrow a paper. It's yesterday's paper, but he can borrow it. What kind of world do we live in where people can only afford yesterday's paper? Charlie, your soup's getting cold. Come in, Ma. And the world tastes good, 'cause the Candyman thinks it should. Oh my gosh, people. So, when you just listen to all of that, I mean, is it any wonder that as a little impressionable kid, I'm realizing that candy is what makes the world magical? That candy is the miracle? That with candy, all things are possible? I mean, my gosh, the sun will rise. You can sprinkle it with dew. You cover it with chocolate. There's a miracle or two. I mean, come on, right? Who can go wrong with that? And then it's almost like a pusher where he's saying, here, Charlie, you can have one for free. Well, every druggie automatically gives you one free, because after one or two, when you're hooked, you'll start begging and do anything to get the third and fourth one, right? I so get that. I can't blame Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but it's part of it. And that whole idea, mixing it with love, every single thing is satisfying and delicious, and that it's a childhood wishes, right? Yeah, because I think about it when I think about like Disneyland and how exciting it was to go, and those gigantic suckers with all the twirl, and that when children came back from Disneyland and brought that to share in class the next day, the room was filled with oohs and ahs, because you're rich. Aren't you amazing? Like, sugar makes you rich, right? There's something there. And I say that because when I was just even on my way home from school, tonight was open house virtually, but still I had to stay at school for it. And I was late and hungry and driving home, and the desire to comfort myself immediately was sugar. And then, of course, my logical brain said, you're kidding, right? Sugar causes cancer. You're kidding, right? That would be such a step back. People are dying. 76% of everything in every store is sugar. They've enhanced it. They've laden it with sugar, right? So you're sure you're fantasizing about sugar? And then I was like, oh, where is that coming from? And I can tell it's an intimate, personal thing, because it's making me want to go to sleep. And when I'm overwhelmed by things, it makes me want to go to sleep. And then I was thinking also of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and where he's like, come with me and you'll see it's a world of pure imagination. Take a look into your imagination. And he has, what is it? You open your eyes to this gigantic chocolate factory with chocolate rivers, and every single thing is edible, and balloons that open up and they're full of gunk. And, my gosh, I didn't even think we had gummy bears back then. But when I was re-seeing that part of the video, I mean, it's 1971, precursors, I guess, these gigantic gummy bears that they're chomping on. And then what does he say? If you want to see paradise, you can look around and see and view it, right? Anything you want to do, do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. If what? If you're rich with sugar, if you're rich with candy, if you're rich with, I mean, I know that's not it, but in my little world, that little girl inside of me, right? It even says there's no life I know to compare. I know he's saying with imagination, but the imagination, I remember watching that and thinking, what would I do to go there? What could I do to go there? We all dreamt about that. What if we had our own candy factory? What if we had our own? And it wasn't lovely. That was a really vicious movie in many ways. I mean, how poor the people were, how difficult Charlie's life was, and how unfair Mr. Wonka was when at the end he was just pushing Charlie away, only to see how pure Charlie was of heart, and he most certainly was. But there's always that darkness, right, in every single thing. Anyway, I'm reminding myself that I've had 50,000 lifetimes of sugar, and that there is absolutely nothing that they could produce in any way, shape, or form that I haven't consumed or experienced. It's just repackaged nonsense, right? But it does haunt me. And I think with Teacher Appreciation Week, we kind of escaped it, right? I kind of dodged a bullet last year because of the COVID. We all went home on March 13th, and it was just shy of Teacher Appreciation. And I didn't go through that week of all the junk. And then this year, we weren't allowed to share. So where the staff lounge had been full of full-size cakes and all these bakery products that were donated, we didn't experience that. But now as things are opening, all of a sudden, every single day there were treats in my box, and they know it's not my story, but people don't have the time. And so there was cookies and candies and bright this and bright that, and a Kona ice truck, and people eating snow cones, basically, I think is what Kona ice is. And you could put as much syrup of every single one as you want, and it's just a sense of total ecstasy and crack. And it's just amazing what people will do. I mean, I know grown-ups in all of their restaurants and their food and all of that, it's the same thing for a child. But I think the child within, like, I saw that Kona ice truck, and you should have seen those adults lining up for that. And if they could have, they would have put their head under the spout and just poured the syrup in their mouths. And I just thought, my gosh, I so get it. I just so get it. People, I do want health. I really do. But it's something that I have to fight for. I have to fight for it. It doesn't come naturally to me. And I don't know if everybody gets that. I mean, I think you guys think you get it, but I don't know if you really are as sick and addicted and have the addictive personality that I do. I don't know if for you it's occasional, where every few days you have a temptation or something comes to mind. Whereas for me, chronic. It won't be this way always, but it still is. And it makes me want to just go to sleep because it seems safer. All right. And the world tastes good because the Candyman thinks it should. It just seems like a drug pusher right there to me. Just an absolute drug pusher. And besides, we know that as they're doing MRI scans of children's brains to see where they illuminate based on what they're eating, and then they go back to the drawing board to enhance it even more, to make them even more addicted, and see what else that they can light up, and how it lights up the same center, that is lit up by severe drugs like cocaine and everything else. I mean, it's very intentional. So it is fair to say the Candyman is up to no good. He's up to no good. But they present him as magical and miraculous. To take the sunrise? Can't only God do that? Sprinkle it with dew? Isn't that God? But the chocolate and the miracle or two? Candyman. Taking that rainbow? Wrap it in a sigh. What do you think that means? But then again, soak it with the sun. All God, all miraculous, all nature, right up until the strawberry lemon pie. Right? So interesting. All right. Anyway, I'm going to spend a moment on candy because I need to process my business and remind myself of all the reasons I don't partake in it, even if it is just the liquid sugar. Ah, all right. Peace be with you, my friends. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Do you have candy issues or could you just let it go? I always expected adults to be able to just let it go. But there's it's almost seamless between the transition of childhood and adulthood and going back and forth. Let's be fair. Until we talk again, best of all, know that you are blessed.